Laura Ray, and today we're going to talk about makeup blunders that will age you. I have done every single one of these. I've changed the way I apply makeup so much. So I want to share with you some things I've learned, some products I enjoy. Let's start with skin prep. I never used to prep my skin. I mainly just put makeup right on the skin. Of course, I wore sunscreen, and that is a form of prep. But now I've had to change a lot. I'm through menopause. I have areas of my face that are dry that never were before. So one thing that I do is I always go in with some kind of under eye product. Today I wanted to share one I haven't talked about in a long time that was a favorite of my mom's and is one of mine, and that's a Queen Bee Peeper Keeper. I've already put some on, but I'm going to put a little bit more. This is an eye balm. So it really keeps the under eyes hydrated. It's got coconut oil. It has sunflower oil, avocado oil, a lot of different oils mixed together. So it's not Vaseline, although it looks like that kind of a product. I love it for the cheeks as a highlighter. So you could actually put this on top of your makeup if you wanted a very natural glow. But this is just such a fantastic product that I've used for several years. Another way I prep my skin is the Numbuzzin, the skin softening serum that I've talked a lot about. I've been through a few bottles of this now, and I love the way that it hydrates my skin. In the summer, I don't even need a moisturizer. I can just get away with just using this. But this has helped a lot with the pores in this area. So I've found if I don't use it, my pores start really standing out. And I always bring it down to the neck. That's another thing I didn't do before. I didn't put anything on my neck. I would stop here at the chin. So I try to bring this down also to the neck. Another product I've been enjoying is this cream. It's the Dynasty cream from Beauty of Joseon. And it's very thin, which I love for under my makeup. You can already see my skin looks so different. It's hydrated now. It's not dried out. Let me get in a little bit closer. And it's just giving such a better look to my entire skin. Now, I used to go in right with foundation, and what I do now is I prep the skin and I work on the rest of my face. I do my brows. I let my skincare sink in while I'm applying everything else, and then go in towards the end with the foundation. So one thing I've really changed is brows. I've tried everything with brows. I have tried brow creams. I've tried gel. I've tried every pencil on the market, the expensive ones and the affordable ones. And what I ended up really liking was the Thick Wow. This has fibers on it. It's from Essence. It's a brow mascara. And what I've decided is I am not going to create bigger brows for myself. I like a more soft, natural look. This is the way my brows grow. I never overpluck them. I just take out the stray hair, and this is how they grow. So I just go in and start brushing the product in. I like to go backwards. I've talked about this quite a bit recently because I think part of getting older that is wonderful is self-acceptance. Just being happy with what we have and working with what we have, not trying to create something else. So I just adore this product. I think it's so great. It's so affordable. It's very inexpensive. I think it's like around $4. And I actually bought 2 of these, and I never do that. I leave one here where I'm doing videos and keep one in my bathroom so I don't have to keep going back and forth. But I love the way this looks. And the shade I'm using is Caramel. Let's see, Caramel Blonde. That's another thing. I was buying like a light brown pencil. I find that taupe or this shade, which looks like a taupe, works best for my brows. Another thing I never used to do is prep my lips, put on city lips or put on some kind of balm. So I'm using this one. I really like it. It's from Mari. I bought this on Amazon. And what's great about prepping your lips like this while you're doing your makeup is that by the time you're done, you can either leave this on if you just want a more natural look. If you want to put on lipstick, you can either blend it with this or wipe it off and apply the lipstick. But it goes on so much more smoothly. It's a whole different ball game than if you're putting lipstick on dry lips. So it's really helped me to prep my lips before I do anything else. I've used eyeshadow primers since it came out because I've always had oily lids. They're not quite as oily anymore, but still, if I put a shadow on, it doesn't stay very well if I don't put some kind of primer. I still do use the one from MAC, the soft ochre, but what I have to do now that's so different is apply much less. So I warm it up with my finger and then just sort of put onto the lid. And I used to only use my finger, but now I tend to grab a brush. I really like this one. This is the IT Cosmetics Airbrush. It's a concealer brush and a foundation all in one, and just blend it out well. I used to really put a lot of this on, and that's not necessary. You can put a really thin amount. I have more crepiness in the eyes now. They're not quite as smooth. They're pretty smooth up here, but there's more creases in this area of the mobile lid. So I have to watch what I put on the mobile lid now. Before, I could put metallics and glitter, and it looked pretty good. Now I find that those don't look as beautiful as if I use maybe a satin finish or a matte. Today I'm going to use a very affordable palette for my eyes that's all mattes, and this is from e.l.f. It's such a beautiful palette. I just bought it recently, and it just has every matte you could possibly want. I'm going to go in with this very neutral shade here. They're all very neutral, and these tend to look a little cooler, which is really neat because most shadows that are in that brown family tend to be on the warm side. So I'm going to go in and sort of shape the eye first. Now, one thing I've also found out is that tools matter. They really do. Now, that doesn't mean they have to be expensive. I have a lot of brushes from e.l.f. that I love, and I have some from Eco Tools. That's another great brand. This brush is a little bit more. It's from BK Beauty. It's the Nikki LaRose brush. But what I like about this, it's a multitasker. Even though this brush costs a little more, I can use it in my under eyes. I can use it for highlighter. So you really don't need to have tons of brushes. The only thing is you're going to need to have clean brushes too. That's another thing that I have changed that was a big mistake of mine is I didn't clean my brushes often enough. Now I just use Ivory soap. That's it. I keep Ivory soap in the bathroom and I run the brush over it, let it dry overnight. So I really keep my brushes super clean now. And I never used to clean them. I have to admit that. That was a huge blunder that I made. Now let's go on to the eye with, I'm going to go in with actually this color. It's very soft. I'm going to use the gray for liner in a moment. And that's something that I did for a long time. I used very harsh liner. And what I have found is that if I use slate gray, I can get the intensity that I want without it being so harsh. So we're going to be using this gray on top of gray liner. And that's another thing that I have found out is that using powder on top of the liner that you put helps it to look so much softer. I was doing a very harsh line when I would do my liner, and that was really aging me. It was closing off my eyes. wasn't the best look for me, I feel. And the thing is, we lose a lot of volume in our eyes as we age. My eyes look different, and I've had nothing done to them. I just want to avoid eye surgery at all costs. So I've just lost volume around here, and it's actually changed the way my eyes look. And that happens to all of us. We lose fat around the eyes as we age, and our eyes look different than they used to look. Mine, I think, used to look a lot larger. They look smaller than they look. When I look at pictures of me in high school, my eyes looked huge next to how they look now. I have found that going with like a soft gray really works for me. So I'm going in with this from Avon. This really lasts. It's one of their glimmer sticks, and this is in the shade Saturn Gray. And this I have found works fantastic and lasts so long, no smudging. Now, one thing too, you might need to do, because as we age, our eyes do change shape, you might need to hold the eye a little bit. I'm not pulling hard, just so you can get down along the lash line. Like that. And I usually make little dashes like this. And then I want to show you my favorite brush of any brush I own. It's this 208. This is a little brush that's a great multitasker too. You could use it for your brows, but I love it for eyeliner. So I'm going to go along and just smudge this out even before I put the powder. And then I take it just to give a little lift to the eye, and I pull the product up at an angle. See how I get that nice little lift? I'm just going right at the edge of the eye where my lashes stop, and then going this way on an angle like that. Next, let's go into this gray here. Such a beautiful shade. And another trick you can do is work the powder into the brush instead of going directly right to the eye. And then I go over the line with the powder. This is not only going to make it last, but it also softens the look. So I have a well-defined eye without using black. Now let's finish the other eye. If any powder drops down, I just keep Q-tips handy. And because I have that eye balm in the under eye, this just comes right off beautifully. And I can go up here and sort of thin that line out. And now we're ready for some mascara. Another trick that I enjoy doing is taking my Pat McGrath powder. This is actually made for the eyes, for the under eyes, but I love it for blending out the edges of my eyeshadow. It just gives a much more diffused look. I just go around where I ended and then blend it. I used to add a lot of highlight under here. I don't do that anymore. I think that sort of closes off my eyes. So I like to keep everything open. So I find that this yellow powder, she makes it in different shades. This is the yellow, and it really brightens things up and smooths out the shadow. For mascara, I have changed that a lot since these tubing mascaras have become so popular. They've actually been out for years in certain brands, but now they're on the mass market, and e.l.f.'s is amazing. I think it works better than this high-end mascara. It stays on all day. It really defines the lashes. And the great thing is these tubes just wash right off. One thing I get asked a lot about is using an eyeliner in the waterline. And I don't do that because it's just very irritating to my eyes. And most eye doctors will tell you not to do that, that you can end up with an infection or other problems in the eye areas. So For me, I just avoid it. I'm going to go ahead and put on under eye concealer. I have tried so many under eye concealers, but the Winky Lux is one of my all-time favorites. And one thing that I do now is I try to put the concealer on first and then just bring the foundation up to here. Now, there are certain serums that I use that I don't even use concealer. I only use that and I bring it up into the under eye. But today I wanted to show you what I do when I do wear concealer. And a trick that I have found works amazing is to take my concealer, put it on the back of my hand, and then I'm getting some setting spray. This is Charlotte Tilbury setting spray, but you can use any that you have. I spray it, and then I mix all of this together. This gives me an under eye that lasts all day, that doesn't crease. Now, I'm using a deeper concealer today, and I have found that getting away from such a light concealer has made my skin look a lot better than something so bright. A lot of the younger people and influencers use these very bright under eye concealers, but they don't have fine lines and wrinkles like I do. So I like to use something a little bit deeper now, and you'll hear me talk about my foundation being deeper. I'm going to use a deeper foundation too. Now, this probably looks ridiculous to you right now, but it will look great when I blend everything together. And this is going to cover any discoloration that I have, and at the same time, not get in my fine lines and wrinkles. So I'm just blending this out. And of course, you would need something this deep. You could go a little bit brighter than this. Now, this shade that I'm using is medium deep. I could have gone just with medium for this, but I wanted it to show up on camera too so you could see what I was doing. But look how that covered anything that I have going, yet it wasn't so bright. And I'm going to go ahead and put some around my capillaries here too. Now, one thing that I have done very recently is I've gotten away from using such a light foundation. I have had many of you say to me, Laura, your foundation is just too light. And, you know, it's funny because depending where you're buying the foundation and the lighting you're in, or if you're trying it in your bathroom, it might look like such a perfect match. But then I get in these lights and it washes me out. So I've been going with a deeper foundation and I actually love it. So this one is the Futurist from Estee Lauder. This is her skin tint. Another thing I've been doing is sort of getting back to a sponge. And the reason for that is I was finding that I was getting some puddling in my skin in here. And I just felt like if I put a thinner amount of product, that wouldn't be happening. So I started using the Sonia Kashuk sponges. I have some this size that I really love. Today I'm using the larger one. But I have changed my foundation so much. I love Estee Lauder Double Wear, but it is a thicker, heavier formula, and it does weigh down my skin a little bit. So this skin tint is much thinner. As you can see, I've got it right here next to the Winky Lux, and it's actually lighter than the Winky Lux. So I'm going to just bring that up a little bit. But you can see I can blend it out, and as long as I blend it onto the neck, it's going to look like it belongs to me, that it's my skin. That's one thing I've gotten comments about. Someone said one time, oh, your skin looks great until you see your neck, then you see all your flaws. And so I noticed that I was bringing it down to my neck, just not enough. It wasn't blended enough, and there was too much of a difference between the shade in my face and the shade of my neck. So now I'm a little bit more careful about bringing it down to the neck. Another thing is how you apply the foundation. It really looks better on the skin if you press it in. I have had times where I've done the streaking motion, and I'm showing you that in the video, but I have found that pressing it in to the skin makes it sort of fill the pore up and just have a better look. Also, not rushing, taking my time with the foundation. That is the one product that's really going to make or break you, is how you apply the foundation. And so I think I spend a little more time now going back, noticing things like the hairline. I'm in Florida and our hair is always blowing in the wind in Florida. So I have to get up around the hairline. That was another comment I had one time. They said, why do you put product along the hairline? Well, I have bangs and my forehead showing a lot, the wind. So I have to be really careful to get up here and just blend well along the sides. I think having product there gives a much better look and looks like it's more my real skin and not anything covering it. It's got the feeling a little bit of like an oil to it. So it sinks in, like if I was using jojoba oil, that kind of thing, into the skin. And so as you're layering it, it's not caking up. Let's talk about contour. Most days I don't contour. I don't need to wear contour at school, but sometimes you want to, or there's a feature you're trying to accentuate, or one you don't want to accentuate. I love this one from Sephora. It's one of their newer products I've shown before. It's got a real gray to it, so it truly is a contour, not a bronzer. But one thing I've changed, they used to tell you, suck in the cheeks like this. That works great on a younger person, but for me, it just drags down the face, and I've already lost a lot of volume in my face, so my face is very thin, and contour can make me look very gaunt and not the healthy look that I'm going for. But I'm going to put a little bit on today, and again, I work this into the hand before I go on the skin, then I don't get a blob of color. And I'm just going to shape the face a little bit, but where I'm applying it on the cheek, I'm going to go very high. I'm going to put the contour right here, right under the bone to shape instead of in the hollow. So I'm up a few, like probably a ½ inch from where I would be if I was putting it in the hollow. And this makes the cheekbone stand out still without looking gaunt. I'm going to go ahead and give my face some shape here around the jawline. Contour is a great way to define the jaw. And sometimes as we age, we lose a little bit of that definition. And then I'm just going to bring a little bit down to the neck. If I were using a bronzer, I always like to bring the bronzer down to the neck area. But I just put a little bit. Now, I know a lot of women love to contour their nose. I have done that many times myself. So I'm going to take a little bit and just not use quite as much as I did in the past. And I'm just going to go down the side of the nose very gently to where there's a little definition, but where you can't see it. And down at the tip, I'm just making a V. To give me a little more of a point, I have a bulb type nose, so it doesn't come to a point like a lot of noses do. So I'm just going on the sides to give a little bit of a point and down the side of the bridge of the nose. That's a lot more subtle. Now let's talk about blush. I've always applied my blush higher on the cheeks, right in this area. I know that they tell us to put it on the apples of the cheeks, but if I do that, my blush is way down by my lips. So it doesn't look right to me. It really drags down my face. Now, I used a powder blush in the first video that I filmed of the blunders. Today I'm going to use a cream. I just feel cream works great for mature skin. I'm just loving this one. It's a brand new from LYS. And what I like to do is take the brush and go onto the product instead of directly on the skin. You can really see that. And then start here high on the cheekbone. I can always take my finger and blend it. Another option, if I feel like I'm not getting the placement that I want, I just take the damp sponge and blend. And this does a beautiful job. What I love about this is you can see color, yet you can see my skin still. I'm going to put this on with the sponge and just blend it out. I think that's just so beautiful. It doesn't make my skin look heavy. Everything looks nice and dewy, yet not oily looking. Instead of powder highlighter, which I do love powder, but you have to be very strategic with it. If not, as you can see, my pores look so accentuated. You can really see them. When I use a cream or I use a powder high enough up here and stay away from this area, that area is rough. There's a lot of texture there, so any product that gets there, the pores look huge. So I like to go up here, sort of even with the edge of my eye, and just put the product there. That gives a nice little glow without it getting into the zone where there are issues. I'm going to use one of my all-time favorite lipsticks today, and that's from Flower Beauty. This is the shade Spiced Petal that is a dupe for Pillow Talk. It's such a beautiful lipstick. I'm going to leave on the product that I have and just mix this. One thing I won't be without anymore is lip liner, and I actually like to put the lipstick on first, sort of have the lip filled in, and then go around the edge with lip liner. And one thing I don't do is overline. It just looks so unnatural to me up close, and I'm around people close up all day. I'm not taking photographs from far away. It looks natural for that, like in these ads. But when you're working with people and up close with people, I find that applying the lip liner just right on the edge of the lip looks best. Another must for me now is a lip brush. I really like it for blending in the lipstick. One more thing I want to do is go in my under eyes with that Pat McGrath powder, but what I'm going to do is just a little finger powdering. Take my clean finger, go over the powder. This is so fine. It's actually one I can use in the under eye. And I'm just going to pat this in. This will brighten that area a little bit and also keep the makeup in place. Here's the final look. So those are my blunders. Share yours. Make everybody feel like they're not alone. Sometimes we do feel alone when we do these things, and we look back and we say, what was I thinking? And there might be things you still do that I did that I consider my blunder that works for you. And that's the beauty of makeup. It's such a personal thing. It's a creative endeavor. I love makeup because it's fun. It's a way for me to feel creative. And it's a way for just self-care. There's just so many benefits to wearing makeup and skincare. All of the products I spoke about today will be in the description of the video. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel, for being here, for supporting my channel. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate your time that you took today watching the video, and I hope you'll come back soon.